Great. Who has ever read a report of the IPCC, rapport du GIEC? Okay, not so much. I'm very, very happy because a few years ago, the sport ecosystem was not so much involved in this big event. You know, the sport industry is more and more addressing and tackling sustainable issues. Few figures to share to all of you. Do you know, in 2023, how many deals with non-sustainable companies have been done between the sport industry and polluting one? Do you know how much? How many? 250 deals have been done between polluting companies and the sport ecosystem. In the football industry, 55 deals have been done between clubs and polluting organizations. So the sport industry needs to change. The sport industry needs to tackle this issue. And we will speak with amazing panelists today about a very interesting topics, that's to say, how can we link the sport ecosystem with the Paris Agreement. So before beginning, please make an upload for Chloé Leger. Chloé. Chloé, we are waiting for you. Chloé, where are you? Chloé? So we will speak about an interesting topic. Chloé, floor is yours.
So a few months ago, in this very venue, was held one of the biggest sporting events. And I have one question for you today. What would the Paralympic and Olympic Games look like in 2048? This question, we asked it to 48 elite athletes from different sports and different backgrounds. And thanks to them, through different workshops and consulting with experts, we created 4 different scenarios on the future of sports. These 4 scenarios are based on the 2050 scenarios from l'ADEME, and all paint a picture of what the future of sports can develop to be. So, what are these 4 scenarios? Well, scenario 1, we have a very low-tech future with drastic reductions in consumption. In scenario 2, we're more on creating competitions and sporting around sharing and cooperation. Scenario 3 is about green tech innovations and limiting impact. And on the other end of the spectrum, well, we have scenario 4 that's hyper-connected and a high-tech sports world. So all of these scenarios, all of these 4 scenarios all respect the Paris Agreement. They all have some positives, they all have some negatives, and I'm sorry to break it to you today, but there is no perfect future. The good news is we can choose which scenario we want to live in, and that's exactly what we've been doing with Sports 2048 for the past few months. We've been collecting votes from athletes, but also medias and sponsors and fans, of course, to see which future they want to live in. And looking at the results, scenario 2 is definitely taking the lead.
What is it? What is this scenario 2? Can you describe it to us?
So scenario 2 is really centered about sports being there for society. So inclusion, equality, especially around para-athletes, well-being, social impact, those are all front and center when it comes to sports and competitions. So here, the purpose of sports is to accelerate and be a platform for change. For example, we take 1,000 people all around the world, randomly selected, to be part of a Convention citoyenne du sport, a kind of citizenship convention around sports, and they get to choose, they get to design what sports and the Olympic and Paralympic Games will look like. But sports competitions are also completely reimagined. We don't build new stadiums, we use existing venues like this one to adapt them to the sporting competition. And if you're lucky enough to live in the city where the games are hosted, You may host an athlete in your own home. It's the entire city that becomes the Olympic Village. Athletes can travel by plane to come to the events, but for their return journey, to reduce consumption and reduce emissions, they use different sources of mobility and take their time to travel back. It's kind of a new tradition called a caravan, and they stop off in all these different cities and they celebrate their victory with the populations in these cities. And every time they stop off, it turns into a huge party. And finally, sponsoring, well, that's a huge question. What does sponsoring look like in 2048? It's a little different, and brands who don't meet certain standards in terms of environmental and health standards, they must pay a tax. And this tax and this money collected is used to then sponsor the sports industry. It's kind of seen as a way to invest in the well-being and health of the whole population, and it reduces costs down the line. So I know what I've just kind of shared might be a little, you might not be fully agree to it. You might not be quite sure if you're exactly want to be in scenario 2 or another scenario, and that's the whole point of this campaign. We created 4 different scenarios, and it's to kind of see what people think. So if you're interested and you're curious and you want to know a little bit more, there are 4 different short stories that you can read on each different scenarios on our site, Sports 2048. And most importantly, you need to come vote, and we know that voting is super important, and you can vote for the future that you want to see for sports.
Thank you, Chloé. So please vote for the sports scenario. We can applaud her. Thank you very much, Chloé. Thank you again for your time with us.
Thank you.
That's cool. That's great.